Okay, everybody, great to have you here today on the show. We're going to be talking about whether you should eat before bed or not. And by that, I mean, should you have a small little snack 30 minutes before bed? And before you jump in with what your belief is already, let's keep an open mind and explore. It's one of the biggest things I try to share with my colleagues is that don't already jump to share what you already know, but instead be open to why there might be a countering viewpoint. So instead, we dismiss dogma and we don't say this is the rule, but instead we ask, what's the goal? And that's what I want to go through here on today's show. The first I want to go with is that many people do stop eating after dinner. And I do make that recommendation for myself and the vast majority of people. But there are times when that rule can be broken. Now, why do we typically say no food or snacks after dinner? Because what we want to do is get the body moving towards the rest and relax, the repair and rejuvenation side of the body. And we know that it's going to take a few hours for dinner to move through our stomach. It's going to take a few hours for our blood sugar to probably level back out or at least not use all of that energy for digestion. So think about it. You sat down at dinner, you might have had a nice piece of salmon, a cup or so of asparagus, you had what other amazing thing on your plate? Maybe some sweet potato, and you've got a couple tablespoons of olive oil. It was this delicious and healthy meal. Okay, amazing. It's going to take 2 to 3 hours easily to digest that meal. There'll be a little bit of blip in your glucose levels, which is totally fine. It'll be back down and life is good. Okay, so let's just say you had that at 6 p.m. All right, so it probably will start to really be out of the stomach around 9 o'clock or so, maybe even a little bit longer. All right, so now what we're doing is we're getting again into a state of autophagy. That's what we want, where no new nutrients are coming in. And yes, we're digesting the meal and all that, but it allows our blood sugar to come down, mTOR to lower, and AMPK and autophagy to increase. You don't need to know what any of those things mean, but what it means is that, oh, now that there's no more nutrients and food coming in, the body's not using that energy for digestion, the body can start to, at varying levels, begin to go and attack cancer cells, kill those cancer cells. It can begin to wipe out viruses and pathogens. It can start to rebuild healthy mitochondria and wipe out weak white blood cells and start to generate new ones. So like that is a very special period of time when the body is not eating. And that's why we try to stop eating after dinner. We also want to use it as a way of controlling calories, keeping an intermittent fasting window, helping with weight loss. And truthfully, it does work and it helps with the vast majority of all-cause mortality, which is heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, dementia, and cancer. So like it's good to fast. There's no doubt about it. It can be overdone, but the great majority of the benefits actually come with the more hours you fast before you go to bed. Now, you can take it to an extreme, of course, but fasting and not eating 4 to 5 hours before bed, track your sleep scores. They'll be through the roof, right? They'll be the best that you've ever had, which is crazy, right? But also you can start to say, okay, well, I don't want to stop eating completely before bed. Make the meal more easily digestible. That will help as well. Okay, so that's the case for fasting before bed. So many benefits: improving digestion, lower nighttime blood sugar, enhanced fat metabolism, decreasing inflammation, etc. Now, let's give you, though, a couple of cases for eating before bed. One thing to realize is that some people, their blood sugar levels can drop a little bit too much. We don't want that, right? So they go into more of a state of hypoglycemia. This usually happens when there's a virus that they're dealing with in the body. They might be more of an ectomorph body type where there's an imbalance there. They could be dealing with HPA axis dysfunction, which is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, with stress. So those individuals, they don't want to eat a lot before bed, but they actually might do well with a little bit of, let's say, some people like to do a little bit of nut butter and an apple, or they might do a little bit of hummus and some rice crackers. Again, these aren't things that I'm necessarily recommending, but these are easy to digest things that have a little bit of protein. They're not typically high protein foods because, again, what does that do? Well, that's a lot of energy now for digestion. Remember, protein has the highest thermogenic effect on food. So what does that mean? Well, great for basically burning up a lot of those calories, somewhere around 30% or so, 26 to 30%, but at the same time, a lot of energy. And if you're exhausted and you're dealing with all sorts of different health issues, you probably don't want to overdo it on protein, right? You want protein keep the body strong, use those amino acids to rebuild tissue, the immune system, all those great things, but you don't want to overdo it. Okay, so that's one potential, is that you want a better balanced blood sugar. But another one, and this is one where we use it not often, but we will use it for people that their minds are racing, they don't produce a lot of serotonin, they are high dopamine, high catecholamine. And I did a podcast on catecholamines actually just a couple of weeks ago. So if you're dealing with, let me see if I can find that show real quick for you. It's episode 3513. You can find that at stephencabral.com/podcast. So if you're having difficulty sleeping, I go over this catecholamine effect. And essentially these are stress neurotransmitters, stress hormones, however you want to refer to them. Believe it or not, I actually just did a show, this was 3528, where I talked about 2 kiwis before bed, about 30 minutes before bed. This was a decent study. It essentially cut the time it took to fall asleep in half. These people were averaging, well, quite some time, over 40 minutes to fall asleep. Cut it in half. I mean, 42%. But again, I'm rounding, but 42% is very impressive. It also enabled them to get about an hour more sleep per night. Because think about it, if you cut the time it takes to fall asleep, right, you get that on the front end, but you don't probably have as many wakes. That's 2 kiwis. So you might think about it, and then all of a sudden it comes to your mind, well, kiwi's fruit. Fruit spikes blood sugar. All fruit then bad. No, that's a rule, but it's an incorrect rule. Fruit is not the enemy. People with blood sugar dysregulation have cell membrane dynamic dysfunction. Because we know this because many people eat fruit with no problem. Many of my clients, myself included, I eat 2 to 3 cups of fruit a day. My hemoglobin A1C is anywhere from a 4.8 to a 5.1. So it's like, well, no chance of diabetes, right? I had type 2 diabetes back when I was 17. I don't have diabetes today, right? Type 2 diabetes, I had that obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, I had it because of a HPA axis dysfunction with Addison's disease. But the truth is that it's not bad for everyone. And then we also have to think, well, then if you have the kiwi before bed, you're knocking yourself out of autophagy. And let's think about that for a second. All right. We know that the main thing that kicks you out of autophagy, and again, there's varying levels of autophagy. It's just not just a flip switch on or off, is protein, which increases mTOR, mainly meat, fish, eggs, etc. I'm not saying those foods are bad. I eat those foods, right? So what we are saying is, though, by eating plant-based foods and fruit, it almost doesn't kick you out of autophagy at all. It's been found that even if you eat plant-based proteins, it doesn't kick you out of autophagy as much. It's really mTOR strengthening foods, the anabolic foods. All right, so now we know that. We say, okay, well, the kiwi has calories and spiked blood sugar, you won't maybe lose as much body fat. Okay, but that's when you have to ask yourself, what's the goal? What is the goal? There's almost nothing more important than fixing someone's sleep. And I'm not saying that you need to do it 2 kiwis. We don't use that in our practice, but I'm giving you an example, right? Kiwi, one of the reasons it works is it helps boost serotonin. And so, well, how does that pathway work? It works from tryptophan to 5-hydroxytryptophan, which is 5-HTP, to serotonin, to then what? Melatonin. Melatonin is the inverse of cortisol. So cortisol essentially keeps you awake. Melatonin puts you to sleep, keeps you asleep. So we have to understand is if you know the goal, then you're able to play with your health-based routine in order to get the outcome you want. So maybe back in the day for me, I would be hyperglycemic, high blood sugar, and then I would drop wildly to low blood sugar. I might need a little something before bed. Okay. Do I do that anymore? No. It's probably been 20 years since I have. And the reason is that your body's not static. Once you heal, you can move more towards the ideal. But in the beginning, you need to focus on healing. And you need to stop asking, what are the steadfast rules? And instead, what's my goal? And then you can stop listening to all the people out there who just say, keto for everyone, carnivore is the best, fast all day, only eat 1 meal, everybody should be doing HIIT, or nobody should be doing HIIT. You should only walk, 10,000 steps, but during your luteal phase, you shouldn't walk at all. It's like, well, what's the goal? Like, what is your goal? Do you need to be doing any of this? Because you don't need to do more than you need to do. That's the thing as well. The goal is balance, not to overextend or underdo. I have a book coming out in another couple months that really personalizes this. And of course, like it's all of my best stuff. It's all of the things that we do, but it's also what I teach in the podcast. And so all of this is available to you. But I always want you to ask yourself when you're listening to the health gurus online or whoever it might be is, okay, I'm understanding what they're saying. They may have cherry-picked an individual study. Is this something that I need? And if so, what is it looking to rebalance or fix? And if it's not looking to fix or rebalance anything, now there are some preventative things that you want to look at, and we talk about that on the show. It may not be the right fit for you. I try to give you the foundational based approaches, but remember, it always comes back to bioindividuality. Not what's the rule, but instead, what's the goal? What do I need for my unique body? Hopefully today's show was helpful. If you want all of the show notes, head on over to stephencabral.com/3533. That is today's show. stephencabral.com/3533. All the big takeaways will be there. Any previous shows that we want to link up for you, like the one on catecholamines, definitely would check that out next, especially if you do have sleep-based issues. Have an amazing day, everybody. Share the show if it was helpful. I'll be back tomorrow on a brand new Cabral Concept. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.